Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode.
Welcome back to part 2 of a 2-part episode. Be sure to go back and listen to part 1. You might have missed something. Hope you enjoy the conversation today.
So anyway, 11 years old. Let's get back here.
So my dad moved to upstate New York and decided he had been farming and decided farming wasn't for him anymore. You couldn't make money back in the 90s and 80s.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yep. I remember that.
My dad's farm, the mortgage on his farm, he was paying 18% interest in the 80s. Like, we're grumbling right now because we have interest rates at 9%.
Oh, I know. They were ridiculous.
They were 18%.
I remember
were paying
that.
for their farm 5 and 6 times over by the time their mortgage is paid for.
Yep, I remember that.
So my dad had quit farming. He had worked for my uncle in a pallet factory, John Weaver.
Oh, yeah.
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 And then in 1990, we moved to New York, and my dad, I had 2 older brothers. I was 11. My brother Daniel would have been 16. My brother Paul would have been 17. So they were working in the shop at that time, and my dad started building sheds.
So this is when you lost all your buddies that you went to school with in Pennsylvania that we talk about.
Yeah, Ken and Sumi and
Dave
and
Sumi
Petey Weaver
and all those
guys.
guys.
Yeah, I went up there, and there was
11 years old is a hard age to move.
Yeah, it was.
Were you excited? I mean, sure, you were excited about moving.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it was. There was a part. I was very secure always in my family unit. I mean, there was 9 of us kids, so I had friends in my own family, my siblings.
Yeah. True.
And there was one girl that I went to school with that moved to the new location with us. We were starting a new church in the Mennonite churches. And so there was a little bit of camaraderie that I knew someone familiar. But basically everyone in that school, when I went to that new Mennonite school, was new. I didn't know who they were. John Zook, who was there today, became a really good friend of mine.
So that was a New York friend.
That was a New York friend. So that's where I met him.
Yep.
He was 2 years younger than I am, but we just connected in a way that, you know what, when you're 12 years old, 2 years is a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
So he moved when I was 12 years old, but we connected in a way that I would be surprised. I was surprised even then, but he and I just clicked. And when I was out of school, started working for my dad full time, he started working for my dad 2 years later when he was out of school.
Oh, really?
So he and I worked together in my dad's shop.
Yep.
We built that shed business up, moved about 40 minutes south, and started another shed company and sold that shed company to John Zook's dad.
Oh,
so
nice.
now we're 2 shed companies about 40 miles apart.
Yeah.
And that's literally what I did. Nothing else up till 2009. I got married in 99. So 10 years after I was married, I was still running my dad's company. And at that time, my dad had moved to Montana. And I really wanted to move to Montana. I was a little burned with the shed industry. At the time, 08, 09 was coming along. The housing market was collapsing.
Yep.
Shed sales were dropping. And we were, Lancaster County was just pumping out sheds up into upstate New York where we were from.
Yeah.
And we had a hard time competing with them. I mean, they were willing to sell a shed at $150 over cost because they were making 5,000 sheds.
Oh, yeah.
And we're like, we can't do that.
Absolutely.
So I ended up moving to Montana after my dad did 3 years. And at the time, I thought, like, I'm done with sheds. I'm never building sheds again.
Yeah.
So I went out there. I built a couple custom homes. I built a house for my wife and I. And I just could not make ends meet. And I ended up going to the oil field and driving truck, hauling crude oil until the economy kind of rebounded. And I went back into sheds, believe it or not. I mean, by that time I'd had a couple years break and it wasn't just like weighing heavy on me where I was burned out.
Yeah.
And I discovered I know what I'm doing. I'm comfortable doing this.
Yeah.
And I'd also learned a lot. I mean, in those years of, I was 30 years old when I moved to Montana. And I've heard people say when you between the ages of 40 and 50, you accomplish more than you do most of the rest of your life put together.
Yeah.
And I would say the knowledge I gained between 30 and 40 years old, just knowledge, was more than I had learned all the rest of my life up till 30 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, even all my schooling that I got, which wasn't extensive, but I learned more in those 10 years because I went through some really hard financial times. And I learned to do without, and I also learned to fix stuff myself. I learned to build stuff myself that I used to just say, oh, whatever, someone else will do that for me.
Yeah.
So those were good years. I'm thankful for it. But
So you do drive truck. I mean, you got a semi that you haul and deliver with. You've done trucking off and on.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
So when my dad and I were hauling sheds in upstate New York, we used to haul with a ton dually and a 20-foot bumper pull trailer. And when we went to do wholesale sheds, we needed a longer trailer and we needed CDLs.
Okay.
So funny story about that. My dad has a way of, like, you want to go hunting on a property that you've never met the landowner before? Send my dad. I mean, he'll get the keys to the corral and he'll get the four-wheeler. Like, that's my dad. He wins hearts. He walks up to somebody and they just like him instantly. Mm-hmm. So my dad and I both knew we needed to get our CDLs, and my dad had CDLs before, but he had let them expire.
Yep.
So there's a local driving school putting on an open house to get recruits.
Oh, nice.
And my dad's like, hey, let's go talk to him. And I'm 21 years old. I've got my learner's permit for my CDLs. My dad had his learner's permit. We go to the recruiter, and this was a driving school where they guarantee you a job with a trucking company. So you go to their go to the driving school, and you're going to have a job when you're done.
You didn't want the job.
We just wanted the license. So my dad goes up there, and I mean, the guts that he had, I remember cringing inside in my little 21-year-old self. My dad's like, well, we need to get our CDLs, but we don't need to go through your school. And I'm like, gulp. But he's like, hey, we've been driving trucks and trailers and oversized loads. He's been driving it since he's 16.
Yeah.
I've been driving. I had my CDLs before. And the guy liked my dad. What can I say? And he's like, well, I'll tell you what. You guys come back on Tuesday. You have your CDLs? I mean, you have your learner's permits? We're like, yeah. Just come back on Tuesdays. We'll take you on an evaluation drive. And then we'll figure out what you need to do to get your license. So we come back on Tuesday. And I kid you not, I had never driven anything more than a 5-speed truck before that.
My word.
And they stick me in a semi-truck that I'd never driven before with a 10-speed. So I had high-low range. I'd never done that before.
Never done that before.
I'd just been looking. YouTube didn't exist back then.
Oh, no, we didn't have
So I was just like, I'd read about double clutching.
Yeah.
And I knew I had the double clutch to get my license.
Yeah.
And I get in that truck, and I guarantee if that instructor sitting next to me would have known that I had literally never sat in a semi-truck seat before.
He'd have never let you do the run.
He'd have never let me. And we... out on the interstate. We were going 70 miles an hour about 10 minutes later.
Are you serious?
And I'm like crapping myself. We're coming. It's like I take this exit here.
Yeah.
Upshifting is pretty easy when you're double clutching.
Yeah.
Downshifting
is a whole different. Yeah.
I don't think I made 3 gears on the way down. And I just clutched and braked and come to a stop. He directs me back to the shop. We get out there, and I'm like, yeah, he's going to tell me you need to go to 6 weeks of school.
Yeah.
We wait there. He takes my dad on the drive. Then he comes back, and he says, you did better than your dad.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay. And he says, well, you guys need to know how to parallel park and do your pre-trip, and then you're ready. And I'm like, whoa. So, we went back there, and like 3 days' time, we interacted with some of the other guys doing parallel parking and serpentine backing.
Yep.
And at the time, they didn't make us do the alley dock. They just made us parallel park and do our pre-trip. Mm-hmm. And a week later, they had an appointment. I sat with a DOT officer in the truck and did my test.
Did you test?
Yeah,
your pre-trip stuff. Done.
I mean, I didn't drive a semi-truck again until 2012.
Oh, wow.
That would have been 2001.
Yeah.
No, 2000. In year 2000, I got my CDLs, and it was 12 years later before I drove a semi-truck again.
That's wild. Yep.
But then I drove semi-truck in the oil field, and I learned a lot there. I put probably about 200,000 miles hauling crude oil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did.
And a lot of that was heavy haul, and I worked with some old-time loggers, the generation of truckers that you were and that are before us were. The guys that actually had CBs in their trucks and talked to each other and knew how to put chains on their truck and knew how to fix stuff on their truck.
Yep.
Those are the truckers I learned from in 2011, 2012 in the oil field.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful for it because they taught me a ton of being out there on your own in a semi-truck and handling whatever life's going to throw at you.
Yeah.
So what does Kaufman Builders do?
So we're a small company. In our area, we're the only company really like us. We have Shed Center would be the closest, but they've got multiple shops and they cover multiple states.
Yep.
And then the big national companies. There's a little mom and pop that builds maybe 20 or 30 sheds a year. He has one style shed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he's been there for 25 years. He has he's competing with the people that are buying kits at Home Depot and Lowe's.
Okay. Yeah.
And he never moves his buildings. I move his buildings all the time because people want to, they bought that building 20 years ago and they want to move it to the new property. But other than that, we're kind of a small specialty shop. We build 200 buildings a year or less. And we're building custom buildings that are going into higher end HOAs.
Yeah.
Horse barns that are like multi-piece horse barns, 2-story barns, a lot of stuff that none of our competitors are interested in doing. And then because we're a small one, we're an all-in-one. I mean, I own the shop. I own all the display lots. And I have my own employees. They build the buildings. My sons work for me.
Yep.
And I do all the deliveries. And something that's always a nice touch. And I don't tell every customer this, but I'd say probably a third of the customers, sometime in the delivery process, they find out that I'm the owner of the company.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And they really like that. I mean, that's never been a negative.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, wow, the owner of the company is delivering it. And I like that because I have the final contact with the customer. And I know
you realize how
happy
important that is.
Yeah.
This is the Shed Geek, and I'm here to endorse one of my favorite products, VersaBend from Cold Spring Enterprises. If you are in the carport or metal building business or have been looking to expand into that field, then VersaBend Tube Bender is a must-have. At VersaBend, we thank you for your interest in our tube bender. The VersaBend is designed to bend 2-inch, 2 1/4-inch, and 2 1/2-inch square tubing, as well as the 2x3 rectangular tubing in either 12 gauge or 14 gauge. Powered by a robust 5 horsepower unit, it features 2 adjustable stops for setting your desired degree or pitch. Priced at just $19,500 FOB from Abbeville, South Carolina, you can secure your VersaBend with a down payment of only $1,500. Contact us to check availability and get placed on our order list. VersaBend is a family-owned business dedicated to providing an easy-to-operate bender made with off-the-shelf components. A unique feature of our bender is that it offers a full radius bend, unlike the double crushed bends produced by most other machines. Want to see it in action? Visit our website at www.csecarport.supply or give us a call at 864-446-3645.
I mean, so the delivery I did Monday morning before I started West here, this is a repeat customer. He had bought, this is the 4th building he'd bought from me. He spent around $180,000 in my company in the last 2 years with buildings.
Yep.
So he got expensive buildings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I showed up there and I had told him the last building I delivered, he told me where this 16 by 36 garage was going to go. And I measured it and I said, it's not big enough. You need to expand that gravel pad. It was a garage for his pickup that he's putting in. And I showed up and it's a 16 by 36 and the gravel pad is 13 feet wide at one end and 12 feet wide at the other end. And my heart sank. And I know, and this is part of who I am, and it will tell you a little bit maybe how I run my company. But I can't just drop that on there and sign off, sign off on his warranty and say you don't get a warranty on this building, because had I dropped it on there, there would have been no warranty, because a garage package has to have an acceptable gravel pad.
That makes sense.
I looked at it. I looked at my pilot car driver, and I'm like, "You got some shovels and rakes?" And we worked for 45 minutes, and we fixed that pad.
Fixed it.
He had a wheelbarrow there. We rolled stuff off of his driveway. We expanded the pad. I got it to where I was happy with it, and I could sign off on that warranty. And I asked my brother-in-law, who was my pilot car driver, I'm like, I should charge him. I should charge him $200 for 2 of us working for an hour. But I said, the guys to spend $180,000 in my company, I'd be a jerk to charge him.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? He's going to remember that I did that work for him.
Yeah.
Because he was apologizing to me. He's like, the guys that were supposed to help me yesterday turned up sick, and I was on my own, and I couldn't finish it. Well, that's how I roll.
Yeah.
You know what? If it took me 45 minutes to fix that pad to make him happy, it really didn't cost me anything.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother-in-law's labor.
Yeah.
But
You weren't going to get another extra shed delivered anyway.
No,
It
no.
didn't cost you a delivery.
Yeah. And so to me, that customer's happiness and that building being set on a good foundation
Yeah.
was like, that's worth it
Yeah.
for me. I'm not going to get called back and have a warranty claim on this thing that I have to tell the guy, no, you don't get a warranty because you didn't have the approved gravel pad. I'm like, no, I'll fix this for you.
Yeah.
So you bring up an interesting point that I've been harping on a little bit on the hauler page about service. And I'm not going to lie, Josh Emhoff called me up one day. You know Josh.
Yeah.
Great dude.
Yeah.
Literally has a self-employment business mind while he's a company driver. He is an anomaly.
That's rare.
Yeah, I have conversations with him. So he takes it to the extreme. I've had other drivers that treat their company equipment like their own. You know, good drivers. They work like they're working for themselves. But Josh is on a whole different level. Like he literally acts like he owns the business.
Yeah.
Treats his customers like that. You know, his customers, not the company's.
Yeah.
And just offers ridiculous service. Why is it so hard? I know you're not on the hauler page as much as you used to be, but you see it, and we all see it. What has made us? And I feel like we're a good group. Haulers we have a good group of haulers. Like I told somebody today, there's, we're running somewhere between 5 and 10% of people that, if you call me and ask me about you, I'm gonna tell you, don't do business with them, whatever. But that's 90% of them I'll do business with.
They're good guys. Yeah.
But there's less than 5 to 10% of them that I honestly don't feel like could not improve quite a bit on service. And I'm preaching to myself, first of all. I gladly will. What have we lost in that, and how do we fix it?
That's good. That's a good question.
And maybe you can't answer it, but how do we go about? We run the bash. We can do classes.
Yeah.
Is that how we go about it? Do we keep doing what I'm trying to do? Keep the Facebook page more upbeat and talk about service, talk about having the right attitude? Because there's guys that'll come on there, they'll be like, I'll never do that. Where does that come from? Like,
I think there's and it's like we said earlier, there's not a single thing that you can say, okay, that's the problem.
yeah, I agree.
But so you've been around sheds as long as me, longer than me. The shed business model that was everywhere when my dad started sheds was one shop, one delivery rig, and customers out of that shop from one display.
Yes.
And then you had dealers that would buy from you and resell and owned their own delivery equipment.
Yes. Yeah.
The mule wasn't on the market. There weren't semi-trucks hauling sheds with two houses. There were semi-trucks hauling sheds to delivery lot or to retail lots, and they delivered it themselves. So the delivery experience was largely by the owner or a close associate of the owner of a sales lot. So they cared.
Yep.
They were the ones that the customer was going to come grumble to if there was a problem. As the business models have changed and you have these huge companies now where you've got a national company and then you've got a regional sales manager and a regional shop and you've got 15 drivers all hauling sheds out of that shop to 30 different dealer lots, and then from those dealer lots they're delivering to customers.
Yep.
You've broken some of that personal connection. So you don't have the driver that is delivering the building has never talked to this customer before unless it was maybe through scheduling, although some of them are working through a dispatcher. So they've never talked to this customer before.
Yep.
And they're never going to talk to the customer again, most likely, unless there's a repo or something. So they just flat have less vested interest in it. That's part of it. Now, part of it too comes is if the company that owns the whole kit and caboodle is treating these drivers with respect and with and has their interest in mind, the driver will in turn have the interest of the company in mind. So guys like Abner and Keith that have a good relationship with the suppliers they're delivering for. They care about those buildings more than Joe Schmo driver who has never met the owner of the company, never talked to the customer before, and they don't care if they never see him again.
Yep.
That's a cultural thing that I think we need to fix. And I think it goes two ways. I think the haulers need to say, look, if I can make the company owner money, that's going to make money for me. But if they feel like, hey, I'm making the company owner money and all he cares about is, great, man, go do more of that. And there's no two-way reciprocity where the company owner says, I'm looking out for my driver, and the driver says, I'm looking out for the company owner.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think that is the biggest, easiest target to say, look, we need to mend this. But there's also, all right, you're a trucker. You've been a trucker most of your life. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between a steering wheel holder and a truck driver.
It's the same thing.
It is the same thing. There are people that are like, this is a job. And shed haulers, I would say there's a smaller percentage of them that's a job, because shed hauling is not easy to do if you're a steering wheel holder. But there's still a percentage of those guys that don't care. They're like, screw it, I'm not getting paid anymore for this. And why would I put extra effort into something that I'm not getting paid extra for? And then there's drivers that say, you know what? I'm going to walk around my truck and check those tires again because I don't like that road I drove on.
Yep.
The steering wheel holder is going to be like, oh, there's pieces of rubber flying off the trailer tire. I wonder how that happened.
Yeah.
And the other guy's going to be like, I saw that happen 50 miles ago when I pulled in that parking lot and I ordered a new tire.
Yeah.
So your guys that are going to go do that service, that are going to take care of that customer, that are going to spend an extra 15 minutes fixing that door that was improperly hung at the factory because they want that customer happy.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? They didn't get any more money for that delivery, but they left feeling better about themselves. And they left that customer with a better feeling about the company, which means that customer's going to brag the company up more, which means that company's going to sell more sheds. But that's not an immediate reward for a driver. That's a maybe reward down the road.
Yeah.
And that's difficult to do.
Yeah.
It's difficult to keep that up if it's not built on that mutual respect between driver and company owner.
Yep.
And I don't know perfectly how to heal that, because you've got drivers that resent the company, and you've got companies that resent the driver, and then you've got companies and drivers that are emulating or embodying a good relationship where they're looking out for each other all the time.
Yeah.
Unlock the power of productivity with Cardinal Leasing. Are you looking to elevate your business operations with top-tier equipment? Look no further than Cardinal Leasing. We offer a wide range of reliable and high-quality equipment tailored to meet your unique needs. Flexible leasing options. Whether you need short-term rentals or long-term solutions, our customizable leasing plans are designed to provide maximum flexibility and affordability. Conventional financing available. Cardinal Leasing also offers great conventional finance options for those of you that prefer that over-lease purchase options. Expert support. Our team of experienced professionals is here to guide you every step of the way, ensuring a seamless leasing experience. Boost efficiency. With our top-of-the-line equipment, you can enhance productivity, reduce downtime, and achieve your business goals faster. Why choose Cardinal Leasing? Competitive rates, exceptional customer service, hassle-free process, quick and easy approvals. Don't let outdated equipment hold you back. Partner with Cardinal Leasing today and take your business to the next level. Contact us now. Visit our website at equipment.cardinalleasing.us or call us at 618-803-4086 to get started.
You nailed it. Even when you tie it in with the trucking side, when you get so big that the drivers don't know the shippers anymore, they don't know the receivers anymore, and the receivers don't know the drivers, the shippers don't know the drivers. You lose that connection point. That's when service starts going down. I think you probably just gave me the answer to why I struggle so much with regional reps. You know, it's the Achilles heel in the shed industry to me. Now, if you're a regional rep and you're listening to this, don't get mad at me. Figure out how to do it better. and some of them do it great. So I tell everybody, I'll tell all the big companies that you are living and dying on your regional reps. And it's the reason I know why now is because what you said. The regional rep does not get to establish a relationship with the customer.
He's only dealing with the builder and the salesman and
Yeah.
the driver, maybe.
Yeah. And that's part of it. It would take a tremendous amount of work for a regional rep to get any involvement with the end result, the customer. He has to do
so let
it.
me ask you this. In those business models, because I have never been a part of those business models. I was a driver short time for a big national company.
Yep.
Who handles a warranty claim?
I don't know. That's a good question.
See, if it was a regional rep, you're sticking him into the right spot.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not him.
But it should
But
be.
That's interesting. I never really thought about that.
Because now he's going out there and seeing the fruits.
Yes, of what
a
of what
poor
he's
builder?
allowing to
Yes.
happen, or either way.
If there's a warranty claim and it was shoddy workmanship or it was a shoddy delivery, he is noticing the problem.
Yeah.
And he can be a jerk about it and go back and yell at those people, or he can say, look, we can improve this together.
Oh,
And now he's like, I'm stopping by your shop once a week. I'm going to do a check. I'm going to do a quality check.
Yeah.
Because
Because he had to go do some.
I had to go fix something for you guys. And the same way with the drivers. It'd be like, hey, I'm going to start stopping by a couple of your deliveries every week just to see if you guys are doing it up to snuff.
Yeah.
And if a driver that wants to do the right thing is going to be like, great, you're going to like my deliveries because I take care. And a driver that's just cutting corners all the time is going to be like, screw that. I don't need somebody looking over my shoulder.
Yeah. So I did in my monologue I did in August, I talked about morale, the industry morale. And I've proven this. 2 months later now, I can say that I knew it and I knew how to fix it. I had a company that they were griping about their sales. The salespeople were griping about the hauler. The hauler's griping about the company. It's a circle. And it's all of a sudden it hit me one day. It's like, these are good people. It's not the people. It's not the system. They've got a good system in place. I'm like, it's morale. So nobody's weed eating around the buildings because the buildings aren't being put where they want them anyway. The buildings aren't being put where they want them because nobody's weed eating. The manufacturer doesn't care about what he's building anymore because nobody cares. You follow where I'm going with this? So what do? You just come in and weed eat all the buildings. It's not your job to weed eat, but you do.
Oh.
And all of a sudden the hauler cares about where he's setting his buildings because the place looks better.
No.
It's like, oh, I can't just sit it here. It's not been weed eated or mowed or whatever.
No.
And the sales guy's like, dude, my hauler's like coming back to life again.
No.
And then all of a
And
sudden,
it was a weed whacker that fixed it.
yeah, and a weed whacker
Oh.
fixed the morale to the whole shed company because the builder's excited. He's happy because his hauler's happy because he's not getting. So, back to your regional guy. If he has more of the living, breathing pulse of the company, then he knows a little better what he's doing. And yeah, if maybe buy him a weed whacker, tell him while he's out there doing inventory, just mow around a couple buildings or whatever. And I didn't get them all done the first time. There's a pile of buildings on that lot. So I did a couple of them, then I did a couple more, and then I brought a helper along. We did a whole bunch of them, and it took 4 or 5 weeks. But it was the one time of showing somebody, hey, somebody in this company actually cares about something.
Yeah.
I see that. So I've started kind of applying that and seeing it in other places. And you do that because you are the weed whacker. You are the hauler. You are this and that. And, for years, I absolutely loved delivering my own sheds until we sold so many I couldn't deliver them all anymore. But my sales guys love to brag on the fact, hey, the owner of the company will bring your shed out. Now, the bad thing about that is when your hauler gets burned out and he's the owner,
You got
that's bad.
yeah.
That's why I sold out because it was like I'm yelling at customers.
Yeah.
You know, I have that story about the shrieker, and I would do that story tomorrow. I'd do it right that way again because,
Well, that was a unique situation.
Yeah,
Like that woman deserved it.
yeah, she did. And, you know, if it would have been the actual customer I was dealing with, I would have done whatever the customer wanted. That's the way it works. But I'm going to do what I still think's right. But if I'm, you know, and it was the sales guys would be like, no, you don't really want to talk to him, because the customer would be like, I want to talk to your boss. You know, and it's like they'd be like, no, you don't understand. You don't want to. So I burned out myself.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that the shed industry. Okay, let's talk about what we saw today there. I like where the shed industry's at today. I've really enjoyed the expo. I see a lot of happy people. I see a lot of growth. I see new stuff. Everybody's excited about new stuff. You know, Cardinal brought the house this year. There's people everywhere in that booth. And you know, they have some innovative new stuff. They have new designs and stuff. They have competition.
Yeah,
They've never had competition, and they're still excited.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the fact that, you know, we've talked for years about somebody needs to compete against them. Well, they're Cardinal. Nobody's going to compete against them. And listen, they sponsor me. They're one of my biggest supporters. I love them to death. I support them as much. They support the Bash. They're great guys.
Oh, they've been the most consistent sponsor, immediately on board. I mean, the first
you just
bash,
pick up a phone.
The first bash in Montana, Montana. It wasn't Steve, but it was who's the other guy? He's a lot more quiet.
James.
No, it wasn't James.
Interesting. I wonder who it was.
I know he and his wife drove out in a car, and then they had someone else bring the pickup and the trailer and a couple of mules.
I know who it is. He's going to
glasses.
If he listens to us, he's going to be like, they don't even know my name. There's so many of them running around in there. Some days I kind of like,
because I actually thought that was Steve, because it was the first time I'd met
Yeah,
them.
that's right. We
and
did.
Then later
we
I
thought
found
it
out,
was,
that wasn't Steve.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
just
I know.
pulling a
And he
blank
was
right
there
now.
today.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah.
So they came out to Montana.
Yeah.
I mean, and I had called them a week before.
Yeah.
And said, hey, we're having a little
Yeah, because we thought,
get
for
together.
some reason, we thought they were tied in with Pine Hill, and they would have
Hill
known.
and them were. Yeah. How little I knew.
Dude, this was not that long
No, it
ago.
wasn't. No. But you and I had never owned a mule before that, had we?
No.
Like I was one.
Well,
of the,
no, actually, I bought my mule. I bought one of the first Mule
But you
5s
bought a
with
used
remotes. No, I bought
You
a
bought a
brand
mule,
hammer
okay.
new one. That's the one that about made me lose my religion.
Did you buy it from Pine Hill?
So, no, I got it straight from Cardinal.
So how did you not
So,
know that Cardinal and Pine
I
Hill
did.
were separate?
We just never had that
Okay.
conversation.
Because I was thinking at that time, I called Pine Hill and I'm
We
like,
just
hey,
never
we would
discussed
like to have
it.
you and Cardinal support it, and I thought it was one
Yep.
joined company. But they came out, just speaking to Cardinal, they showed up. They showed up as a sponsor. They brought equipment out there,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
they have never hesitated for us on you and I running the bash and say, yeah, we want to be. A
Oh, yeah.
supporter
They're always
right
there.
away.
Yep, right there. Yep. But anyway, back to today, seeing where we're at in the industry right now. They're the old guys on the block. And, we have a new guy on the block. And it'd be very easy to just scoff at him, write him off, whatever. But they were over there. They talked to him.
Yeah.
There was good conversation back and forth.
I was happy when we came in off the street and I saw Steve there talking with Marlon. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, because you know both
that's
of
good,
them.
yeah.
They didn't know each other, but we know both of them.
Yeah.
And, we do this with Scenic View, Pine Hill,
Yeah.
WKM, Myers. We know all those guys. And I honestly believe that some of those guys could work harder at building better relationships with each other. I'll be honest with you. When you have people like Myers in Tennessee that know everything about a trailer there is, you shouldn't have to haul a Pine Hill. I'll probably stick my foot in my mouth there and get burned on this channel and be like, hey, you can't say that. But you shouldn't have to take a Pine Hill all the way to Pennsylvania to get a repair job done.
Yeah.
You should be able to get Myers to fix it. You see what I'm saying? I felt like today I seen the old guy walk across the bridge and put his hand out to the young guy. And I wasn't sure that I was ever going to see that.
Oh.
And it was really good for this old man to see that, because I know them both, and they're both working with us. You called me two-faced. You said, you're playing both sides of the shovel. And
I think I called you something worse, but
yeah,
I can't
you
remember
probably
what it was.
did. But I love it because I see guys that are willing to see the industry as a whole. We could use more of that on the manufacturer side. I've been preaching for years, walk across the street and shake that guy's hand that's selling those sheds across the street from you. Just do it, because when you do, and we've done this with the haulers, when you have a competitor that'll drive 6 hours in the middle of the night to go help his competitor out, to get him back home again, we have that happening all the time, because it's back to what you said about the reason the trucking industry isn't where it used to be, and the haulers, is because they don't have the relationship. And I'll die on that rock that if we get relationships. Well, how many times were you hauling sheds before the hauler page, and you feel like you're the only one out there?
Oh.
We did that all the time. I was like, man, there is nobody. I'm just like and I came out of the industry, building houses where we had home builders associations, we had boards and stuff, for all kinds of stuff. You hung out with others every 4 to 6 weeks, and then jump into the shed business, and you're just on your own.
Yeah.
And we've solved that.
Yeah.
We get people to come hang out at an expo.
Yeah.
Introducing the Challenger, the revolutionary new shed mover that's taking the industry by storm. The Challenger features a touchless design, ensuring it only makes contact at the end of the skids and the bottom of the floor joists, so rest easy knowing your gable walls will remain pristine. Worried about reliability? Fear not, the Challenger is always up for the challenge and will not overturn or scuff your shed. Harness the power of innovative wireless technology. Remotely control the Challenger via your smartphone. No cell service needed. And guess what? The cell phone remote comes standard with every Challenger at no extra cost. Featuring floating forks, a 4-directional tilting mast, and sliding weight transfer, move the shed weight precisely where you need it to get ultimate traction. With self-loading capability, straight onto your truck, say goodbye to the need for a hydraulic carriage. The Challenger makes your job easy and more efficient. Choose from 2 machine sizes, 10,000 pounds and 15,000 pounds. Perfect for any job. Visit www.shedchallenger.com or email us at info@shedchallenger.com or call or text 828-220-3508 for more information. Experience the future of shed moving with the Challenger.
I think talking about walking across the street, talking to your competitor, I shared tonight at the dinner that me and some RTO guys and actually a competitor of mine were talking. And I shared with them something that happened to me, I want to say 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that was a really great work of humbling in my heart that God did that I'm very thankful for. I made a move against a competitor of mine, and I'm not going to name them because that's not the point, but I made a move against a competitor that was rooted in a good bit of pride and arrogance, and I knew there was nothing they could do about it. And it felt kind of good as a little guy to feel powerful over a big guy. Yeah. And predictably, it hit the fan, and I get a call after a bit, like, what the heck are you trying to do? And I felt kind of smug. I'm like,
they actually found out.
And I'm good, and I'm, what are you going to do about this? And in the middle of that conversation, the company guy that I was talking to me asked me, "Is that who you want to be?" And when he said those words, I knew it was God talking to me. and I don't even know if this guy's a Christian, but I knew that when he said, "Is that who you want to be?" it was like God saying, "Jason, that's not who you want to be.
That's not who you are."
And I realized, and I told the guy, I'm like, "Let me think about it. I'll call you back tomorrow." And I hung up the
So
phone.
is this where Jay-Z got his opinion?
Maybe.
I'm sorry. I just had to stick that in there.
I hung up the phone, and I knew already then that God was convicting me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I realized that I had become what I hated in other people. I had become look, when I have the monopoly, I have this screw you attitude. And it felt really good to have that over a big company who I felt was always saying screw you to the little guy.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm not saying they were. I'm just saying that's how it felt to me.
Yeah.
And I called the guy up the next day and I said, I'm sorry. I was proud. I was arrogant. And that's not who I want to be. And I'm sorry. And I'll back down with what my plans were.
Yep.
And he was gracious about it. But he didn't, like, oh, man, good for you. He just said, okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And he backed down about me backing down.
Yeah.
And that was probably the competitor company that I was dealing with that I would say there was the most tension with up to that point. From that point forward, the tension melted. And when we were at the bash in Utah, that guy that I had not talked to him since that day, years earlier.
Yeah.
He walked up to me, sat down, he and his boss, and we talked for quite a while. And then he said, Jason, I have more respect for you than you'll ever know.
Oh, yeah.
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that was one of the most humbling things I'd ever gone through. Because not only did I have to go apologize to someone that I felt was more in the wrong than me, and that's always hard to do.
Yeah.
But second, the biggest thing was I had seen in my own heart the ugliness that was there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was easy to point that out at other people. But when God showed that me in my heart and then made me walk across the street and talk to my competitor and say, you know what, I'm sorry. I was wrong.
Yeah.
That did good stuff to me.
Yeah.
And did good stuff between me and that company.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful for that God put me through that.
Shannon and I talk a lot about it's important to remember in the heat of the moment that it's getting late.
That's why we're talking slower and slower.
Yeah. I still think the best podcasts happen after midnight. That's the Shaney Band one happened late at night. The cool thing about recorded podcasts is nobody knows when they actually happen, And Shannon's number one listened to episode, he likes to brag on that. People are like, why in the world did you bring him on board? And he's like, well, I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with the fact that he's the number one most listened to episode, other than the fact the poor dude just loves me. He can't help himself, He actually had to tell me today that I look more like a geek than he did.
You look pretty good today.
Sorry. If I could have found the white cowboy boots I was looking for, I would have really pulled it off. And then tonight,
you would have tucked your jeans inside.
Yeah,
too.
I would have tucked my jeans inside. Yes. And then tonight, one of my buddies is like, "Why didn't you just paint an old pair?" And I'm like, "Why did I not think of that? Just paint an old pair white, not a big." But anyway, it's the best ones happen late. I don't know where we were after that, but the heart, even in the heat of the moment, good people say stupid stuff, and we do stupid stuff.
Yep.
And Shannon is always on me, and sometimes I'm back at him. Depending on who's in the heat of the moment. That look at where the heart is, find out where they're at. Like you. They had no idea, if you would have said it to me, I'd have been like, yeah, but I know Jason, and I know where his heart's at. We say that about people we know, but we don't tend to do it so quick to people we don't know good. So I'm back to where I was 15 minutes ago in how important relationships are.
No, we put ourselves in the best possible light all the time, and we put the other guy in the worst possible light all the time.
Well, that's back to that thing. We judge ourselves by our intentions, and we judge everybody else by their actions. I've lived on that a long time because that's all we have. And it's I actually had I don't want to call him out too bad, but I actually had an experience today because of somebody who's here that had a really hard time with me a couple years ago. because of an attitude I had towards him about something. And we actually both walked out on that bridge today and built the bridge back again.
Good for you.
And it was good. And, you know, to see him tonight hanging out with a bunch of us and having a good time, it was cool. It was like, good. This is something I can put behind me now. You know
cool.
what I'm, you
That's
know,
very cool.
it is. It's very good. And it's fun to be able to do that. What do you want people out there to know about Jason? What's going on? Where are you going? Anything? This is your chance to grab the big microphone, as I say. I told Shannon the other day on Facebook, he's got the biggest microphone in the industry.
Yeah.
You know, be careful. And he is. He's very careful about how he uses it. We have a lot of fun. We poke at people, and that's part of it. You know, it's what makes it fun. But what do you want out there?
I don't have anything earth-shattering.
Well,
Partly because I'm so tired.
yeah, we are. Yeah,
It's running late.
yeah.
Integrity matters.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you're the sales guy, if you're the shed hauler, if you're the builder, if you're the secretary. It doesn't matter in this whole industry. Integrity matters. And I think you referenced that in the industry, sometimes you feel like you're all on your own. We don't have any association or whatever. And you and I have brought a lot of that to change that with the bash, with the page. Shout out to the haulers. When you're out there, you mentioned the service part of it. When you're out there and you're totally on your own and the customer ain't even around when you're setting that building, integrity matters.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah,
You do the right thing when no one's watching, and you will do the service that you should be doing.
yeah. And more than likely, you'll find growth.
Yeah.
Don't do it because of growth, but more than likely you'll find it. That you reminded me of one thing I wanted to get back to when we were talking about that guy that actually does go further because he has a company that cares about him. Mm-hmm. Josh Emhoff, that I started that conversation with, actually works for some of the best in the industry of caring about their people.
Yeah.
You know,
there you go.
Yeah, it proved
There you
just
go.
yeah. I'm glad I didn't say it earlier because it comes back to what you just said. Integrity does matter. I don't want to end with that and go straight to what I want to finish with, but it just seems fitting to close on that. Like I feel like I should have prayer, but it's too late. I can't do it. It's like I'm gonna fall asleep in the middle of it. But we're still like, do you know that next month we're 6 months since the last bash and a year from the next one? It comes around in a hurry.
It does.
So, are you looking forward to Texas?
I am. I'm really looking forward. I'm looking forward to being able to participate and be a lot more involved. I really missed being. I mean, it was good for me, but I really missed being involved.
Just being in the teeth of it.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy it.
I'm glad we were at a place.
I'm not as much as you are.
Yeah.
But I am still. It was hard for me just to sit there and be
Yep.
quiet because of my head hurt and all that.
But it's kind of cool that we've got it to a place where we can do that if we need to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We have a lot of good people.
We had a really good team in North Carolina, and I would say Texas is going to be. Those guys have been running it longer than you and I have, and we're going to have a team down there that's going to be phenomenal.
That's going to be good.
For sure.
I had a dozen people ask me today, you know, when's the next one? Where's it at? You know, and I'm like, man, I put that out there all the time.
Yeah.
But, you know, October 2025, we'll team up with the Texas boys.
Yep.
And we're
They're
going to
in the
have
Dallas-Fort Worth area, aren't they?
They're below Dallas
But they're
a
like
little
if you're
bit.
flying
But
in, you don't
yeah,
fly into
yeah. If
Dallas.
you fly, well, some people actually fly into Austin. They think that's better.
Okay.
So it's kind of between
into Dallas. I'm pretty sure when you and I were down there the first
we did.
time.
Yeah. So it's and we've got multiple locations we're looking at right now. Still picking through a little bit.
When is that?
Hopefully,
When is that? Well, we'll talk about it when we're done here.
Yeah. Hopefully, when I go out there October 19th for the Texas barbecue, we'll go look at a couple places and kind of get some of that squared away. But yeah, that's coming right up, and we'll make it good again.
It's gonna be a blast.
Yeah. Thank you. I told you before you left Montana that I'm gonna get you to do this.
Glad we did it.
Didn't get to talk to Chasen tonight, but Keep him alive and well. We need him around.
Yeah.
Take good care of him. So anyway, guys, thanks for being on. Love you like a brother that I never had. So it's always always an honor and a pleasure to be able to get to meet up and hang out with you, especially when we're in a house where we can just chill out and have a good time. So thank you guys. Thanks for always for supporting us and for listening. I had a bunch of people today tell me that, they listen to the podcast. They enjoy all the episodes, the Monday ones, the Wednesday and the Friday ones. You can always find us on shedgeek.com. You can check out our newsletters that come on the email. If you send us your email, or if you get in touch with us and get on our email list, you get more information that way. But Shannon does really good at getting his newsletter out and keeping everybody up to date on what we do. So till next time, it's Ambassador with the famous Jason Kaufman. See you guys.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford in sunny Union Grove, North Carolina, and we want to say thank you to all the guests and listeners.